welcome to Forbidden Planet TV, and on today's extra special episode, we are here to discuss Death of the Author with Nnedi Okorafor. Hey Nnedi, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing well.
We're very, very excited to have you here. So yeah, this was a dream come true when your publicist messaged me, because when I first was at Forbidden Planet, my first purchase was Who Fears Death.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was the first thing I
Nice.
bought, like 6-7 years ago now. Crazy.
Excellent.
So I feel like it's kind of come full circle for me in some weird way, but we're very excited to talk about the new book today. So where did Death of the Author come from for you?
It's come from a lot of places. Like this is a book that I've wanted to write for a long time. So there's that. You know, I wanted to write this Nigerian American narrative and, you know, about my family. I've wanted to do that for a long time, and so it has many different origins. So there's that. There's also, you know, it was my sister's passing that made me start. That you know, kind of the grief of it just gave me that courage to just be like, okay, it's time. Let me do this. Let me do this, and like face the thing that I had been running away from, which was, this is a different type of novel. Like it's science fiction, but it's far more. It has literary elements, and it's far more than that. And it just felt more in your face. Like I'm writing this thing. I feel like, you know, and it's very autobiographical. A lot of it is autobiographical, and I'm writing it. You know, and nobody's flying, and I'm like, this is just, you know, so there's that, and then there, you know, the book within a book thing, you know, rusted robots. I mean, just an example is that I have a brief memoir about, you know, it's basically about how I became a writer, called Broken Places in Outer Spaces, and it deals with a lot of things. We'll just put it that way. It deals with a lot of things, and in that memoir is a chapter that's titled Rusting Robots. You know, so there are all these ideas that were swirling around, and that all came together in this one book. And
I suppose it's almost kind of a book within a book within a book, in the sense that you obviously have the author, the book they're writing, and then you have those idea of the interviews with the family members and that kind of layer. Was it difficult to kind of keep those kind of different strands running?
It's funny because it wasn't. Right. It wasn't, because the structure of it is very complex. I don't outline, and you know, so it's like, for me to write something like this is still kind of bizarre. I still can't believe I wrote this thing, but really it's the same for all of my books, which is all of my books start with character. It starts with the voice of the character. And so when we think about, this is Zelu's story. So it being Zelu's story leads to this structure. Because, like, I mean, one example is her being, she's Nigerian American. She comes from this very insular, strong, aggressive family. You know, that believes the family over individual. Like, family over individual is more important, more central than just who you are. You are more than just your individual. You are the family. And so that said, it makes sense. If I'm writing this story about Zelu, who comes from this, then the story will include interviews with her family, and it will include interviews with people who are close to her, and they're not going to necessarily say what she would want to hear, you know. And the fact that it starts with an interview with her sister and it's not Zelu, you know, that's all very intentional. Yeah.
Yes. And I suppose there's the kind of the ideas of, obviously, when this is going to be a spoiler light for people who haven't read it yet, that when she loses her job quite early on in the book, there's the element of the family, you know, saying, well, get another job. Are you applying for jobs? And then obviously when the book starts to come to fruition, there's, I suppose, maybe not quite kind of understanding what that what that actually means.
Understatement.
Does that come from anywhere in particular?
Oh, gee, let me think. That is my experience. Like,
yes.
Her family is basically my family.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, and that there's strong, like, they have an input in everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
They have an input. They are entitled to that. And you listen. You listen. You are part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not. So it's just that, and this is the Nigerian American aspect of it, because like Nigerian culture is very much family community. You know, the voice of the community over the individual. And then American culture is very individualistic.
Yes.
You know, so there's always that conflict. But when you're in it, like when I talk about my family, yeah, they have complete right to give their input, and I have to listen. That's the culture. And so how do you navigate? So you have Zelu, who is navigating that. So it's not like she's going to just be like, do the very American thing, which is drop your family, you know, you just never talk to them again and go on with your life and find the family for you. That is not an option. You are part of this family, and you navigate it. And there are aspects of there are things that her family knows better than she does, where they're right, you know. And so like, yeah, that was all real. It was all real. Yeah.
It was. It's actually quite funny. So my partner's an author as well, and he's just sent a new book to his agent. We were visiting his family at the weekend, and they're very much like, oh, so when does it get published? And just like, well, it's still an agent right now. It's trying to have to explain the whole. Will it have a film? I don't know.
Yeah, like, will you make a film of it? You know, will you make the film? Yeah, it's
I'll be
just,
in.
It's a difficult thing. I think that it's an interesting thing. Writers, we don't talk too much about that side. Like the fact is our loved ones don't know what the heck we're doing. They don't understand what we do. It makes no sense to them. And you have to deal with that. You have to deal with that. And a lot of times it's not just not understanding, it's like not really respecting what you do. Like part of writing is, yes, it is just sitting there and staring off into space. And, you know, your loved ones will look at you and think you're just wasting time. And be like, why aren't you, what are you doing? Or they'll just come and talk to you when you're like, no, I am just, let me stare off into space. This is part of the process. They don't understand it. And it's hard to explain. And I understand, like, I'm not judging, I don't judge my family for not understanding what it is that I do. I mean, it's weird what I do, and it's you know, I get it.
Yeah, it is a weird. I suppose it's kind of the hours that authors keep and stuff.
Yes.
It's just a very like, why are you working at 3? Because
yeah, because I'm working at 3.
Yes,
it's the process, you know.
So coming back to let's kind of touch on the main character. So Zelu is just such a wonderful character, but in parts, I don't know, sometimes kind of unlikable.
Yes.
Quite kind of passive, that things are kind of sometimes happening to her and you're just like,
I mean, it's like, see, I take quibble with passive.
Okay.
I take issue with that. There was a reviewer who called it her passive, and I'm like, no. I know passive. Passive means you sit back and let things happen to you. She's very much, okay, so she's from the family. She's from this family. This is how you exist in this family. And so it's like, it's like I'm trying not to give spoilers. It's hard to, I know specific parts that I'm talking about, you know, where some may view her as passive, but like you gotta know the culture to understand. Like passive would be to not do what she does. She goes on to do what she does, you know, despite the fact that she's in this family that is trying to keep her in the place that is made for her.
Yes.
And she moves out of that. Like to do that takes so much not being passive. It's like it's almost like you just gotta really be in her shoes. You gotta be in her shoes, because it's that's the only way you can understand it, because it's part of the culture. She's in that culture, and you do what you're supposed to do. Like, I don't know, it's a lot, but no, I wouldn't describe her as passive.
No. I think as well, yeah, just kind of thinking about that, kind of the ideas of the, I suppose, the tech that she kind of allows, like, into her life, is actually, it does kind of, I suppose, go against that, because you're doing these things to kind of make your quality of life better, and being able to kind of do
and it's like you're doing them, and there are things and this is more spoilers. It's so hard to talk about this book without spoilers. There's tech involved, and she makes some decisions, and to make those decisions you have to kind of, it's not that you're allowing this thing, you decide to do it, because there were voices in her head that were like, questioning whether she should or whether she shouldn't, and knowing the repercussions of those things, and then she does it anyway. So it's
and there is a bit quite early on where kind of I was unsure about the character, but then the I suppose the bit of the showdown that she has with the university.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, that wasn't a passive character. So Zelu in many ways is based on me, okay, but she's her own character, and there are things that she does that are different from things that she handles the situation differently. That specific situation in the university, that was real, and she handled it differently than I did. She handled it better, in my opinion. She said all the things. Where I wish I'd said all the things.
I think academia seems to be a scary place.
I mean, it is what it is. It's academia. It's full of drama. It's full of really smart people, and some of whom have like issues. And then, like, I have a PhD, and I know what it takes to get, so therefore I know what it takes to get a PhD. It makes you a little crazy. So you've got a bunch of those people running around, and so it's a charged place. Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
Another aspect of the book that is just phenomenal to read is the kind of, I suppose, the general storytelling aspect, and that everything kind of feels as if, especially obviously the kind of, say, modern day chapters, feel as if you're there kind of listening to the family kind of recount a story or recount a tale, especially kind of at the wedding kind of earlier on. And that seems to be something that is a kind of feature in a lot of your works, kind of that storytelling aspect. Is that something that's kind of very vital and important to you to have?
I think that it's like it's something that I've been doing for a long time, and so even before I was a writer, I would, whenever my family and I would go to the village in Nigeria, I would just observe. Because there was always so much drama. It was just, the drama was just, oh my gosh. That's why we would always talk about those trips for years, because it was just, there was always so much drama. And the only way you could, and no one was going to tell you anything. No one was going to tell you the secrets. The only way you can learn a lot of the secrets was to just be very still and listen and observe and make sure you were in the right places at the right time, especially when the elders were speaking, when they didn't think anyone was around. Those are the best times to be there, like just kind of listening around a corner. So I've always been that person who's just observing and just shelving things away and recording. I'm always, in my family, I was always the one recording. I was always the one who would notice a moment that was happening and just start recording it. And like before I was writing, it was a camera, so I was always just recording those moments, or just writing about or remembering. So that's always been a part of me. And so when I'm in when I'm writing about those moments now, like the wedding scene, or the wedding chapter, that's just kind of like my natural state, where I'm just I'm just the eyes in the back, just listening to everything that's going on, and like I don't even have to do anything because everything is just going on. Like the stories are just happening, and all I have to do is write it down. So I mean, that's just something that I've always done.
So touching on the rusted robots element of it, and I think obviously scarily, maybe as predicted, as Skynet predicted, that we are getting to that point with kind of technology and AI and kind of robots where it's not kind of a thing that's so many years in the future. Where did that kind of those kind of ideas come from, and did you have to kind of do a lot of research and things into it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always doing research. I'm interested in robots and I'm interested in AI, so I'm always doing that. I wasn't thinking that I would write about it when I was reading about it. So and I tend to do that anyway. Like I just follow my interests and then just become really well versed in something without any intention. It's just following my interests, and then I'll sit down and I'll be writing something, and then it will just come up, and I'll be like, oh, I know a lot of this. I know a lot of this, so good. So there's it's like processing in the back of my head, probably. So there's that, and I've always been interested in one, AI. Even before, because I wrote this before the AI conversation. Like, as a matter of fact, I finished it right when that really started popping off. Like when we started talking about Chat GPT and all of that. I was finishing this book, and I remember thinking, "Oh no, no! This is not. Oh God!" But I've always been very interested in artificial intelligence. Like I've been interested in, especially sentience, and what does that mean? The creation of life. What does that mean? What will that do? What will they be like? I'm interested in. It's not in an apocalyptic way either. Like it's just like, we're creating life. Do we understand that we're creating life? Because I still don't think we do. So there's that, and then I've always been interested in robots. My house is full of robots. I love robots. I just love them. I love everything about them, and I live with them. And I have a house robot that moves around my house, and I know what it's like to live with a robot. It's weird. They get confused. They go in circles saying, "I'm confused. I'm confused." It's just great. It's just great. I'm fascinated by them. I'm fascinated by their parts. I'm fascinated when they malfunction. I'm most fascinated when they malfunction. They malfunction in all kinds of very creative, interesting ways. And I get so many ideas from malfunctioning robots. So there's that. So I just have all of these various obsessions with technology, and then I've always been obsessed, even from my first novel, Zara the Windseeker. I've always been obsessed with biotechnology, always, because I feel like that is the way, that is the direction. If we go in that direction, if we go with nature, we will move so much faster, as opposed to going against nature and fighting with nature. If we go with it, oh my gosh. So I've always been really interested in that as well, and all of that really came together in Rusted Robots, and writing that narrative was just, at first I did not think I could write it like that. I first started writing Zelu's life. That's how I started, and I wrote 100 pages, and I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, oh God, I've got to show my hand at some point. She's writing this book that's causing all this whatever. I've got to show something. And I didn't like the idea. I was like, I don't want to do that, because it's a whole world without human beings, and the characters are all not biological creatures. What is that? I don't even know if I could write that. That doesn't even make any sense. And so I just kept avoiding it, and then finally I just decided to try writing one chapter. And as soon as I did, I was like, oh, this is great. This is liberating. It's fun. I love this. I can see all the personalities. And that idea of the technology being directly connected to humanity, it became clear as soon as I started writing that first chapter. I'm like, how did I miss this? We're so we're so connected. I mean, I was afraid of writing non-biological creatures, but these creatures are very human.
Yes.
They're made by us. They have our DNA all over them. They have all of our mistakes, and they have all of our good qualities as well. Like, man, this is gonna be great, you know. So I fell in love with that, and writing those sections was like so fun, so fun.
And it definitely does bring the kind of the humanity to the idea of the robot. And I was just thinking, when I was reading that, it reminded me a little bit of Sea of Rust, which I read a few years back now. And that's kind of, I think it's set after 30 years after the apocalypse, and there's kind of various robots wandering around, and you're following this one robot called Brittle. Oh, and it's just the idea of what would happen without humans around, and that they start to take human characteristics. It's an amazing book, and it's very kind of poignant, in which I weirdly didn't expect.
Exactly.
When you think robots, you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Have a good time. But even things like I was just thinking, oh, what's the film that's on cinema at the moment? The Last Robot.
Oh yes, the Last Robot or Wild Robot?
The Wild Robot. Yes. Even something like that is actually like so touching.
Yes,
it's just
exactly.
Like, why
Right. Exactly, and it's a robot. Yes. Exactly.
So the other thing, obviously, kind of coming back to the Nigerians kind of in the US, and kind of keeping in touch with your roots. And it was something that I also kind of found in Out There Screaming, because I read your short story in that. How difficult is that? You mentioned before about how kind of maybe the American ideal is something very kind of different, where you're, you know, American dreamer, anyone can make it, but like almost like an insular, like on their own. How is that kind of difficult to juggle? Like, this is something obviously very personal for you.
My story in Out There Screaming, a lot of the same themes.
Dark
Home, a lot of the same themes, and I'm still I'm exploring that a lot. And they're dealing with grief as well, and a lot of the same themes. But that's part of why I want to write about the Nigerian American experience, because of that constant conflict between the community and the individual. It's constant. It's like it's the weirdest thing, because it's like you're raised in this culture, and then you have the American side of you, which is very individual, where you're just like, I will do what I want to do. It doesn't matter if the family wants me to do this. I want to do this, and I'm going to do this. But then there's the Nigerian side that's holding you back. Like, it's in constant conflict, and it's just a weird, confusing, uncomfortable, but sometimes wonderful state of being. You know, and that's why I really wanted to explore it, and I hope in Death of the Author that I got the balance correct. What I don't want readers to come away thinking is, oh, her family just sucks and she needs to just get away from her family. They're just holding her back. I don't want that. I want that balance of the problematic aspects. Definitely the parts that are where they're holding her down and keeping her in place. They have a place for her. They want her to be in that place, and never shall she get out of that place. And if she tries, they're going to drag at her. So I want that part, but I also want the love and the way that they embrace her, and the fact that she is literally who she is, the strong person that she is, who is able to overcome all the things and then write this book and be great, is because of her family. Like, literally because of her family. So it's like, I hope I struck that balance, and that balance, I hope also to the reader, is uncomfortable. You know, it's a difficult, and it's fraught, and it's constantly shifting and going up and down. I hope all of that comes across.
Oh, definitely. And I think that kind of segues into coming up to kind of our last few questions. So the title itself, and kind of obviously the idea of you know, you create a thing and then it goes out into the world, and then how it's perceived.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, is it hard to kind of let it go? Like, it's just like, okay, there you go.
It is, and I think one of the hardest things for me is it's so funny that I'm like out there yelling, out there screaming about this topic for a book that's called Death of the Author, because you're supposed to let it, you're supposed to be separate. But I'm out there constantly saying, this book is not just science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want it to just be labeled as only science fiction. This book is about my family. This book is about my culture. And to call it science fiction erases that, and inevitably people will be whatever it is and whatever it will be. And so I am fighting with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting with that because it's like, yeah, but are they taking, are they just seeing it in this reduced way because that's all that they know? And does that mean that I've failed as a writer to open up their point of view? Because that's really what I want this book to do. I want this book to open up people's points of views about, like, just about storytelling, what that means, about what science fiction can be, about whether it's science fiction. I want people to ask those questions, and so I'm always thinking about that. I'm like, am I successful as a writer? So yeah, the title it's so meta on so many levels. It just keeps it's like a wall. It's like looking through broken mirrors and seeing so many things. Yeah, the title's perfect. The title's perfect.
It's an absolute exquisite book and title. And I think it's very difficult, I think, with any kind of artist to, okay, here's my work.
Yeah.
I know a fair few authors don't. Do you read your reviews, or do you prefer to just be like, that's a discourse that's happening somewhere else?
Normally I don't. I'll only read like the big ones. With this one, I've read a lot of the reviews, and I read a lot of because I want to know what readers think about this, about what I've done. I really want to know, because, like, just not from an ego perspective, but like from a story perspective, I want to know who got it. I want to know what parts vibe with people, like all those things that I've been more interested than I usually am in hearing that and seeing that and thinking about that. It's not ego. It's like, I did something here. I did something here, and I'm just curious how people react to it.
Yeah, there's a personal nature to it.
Yeah.
And it definitely comes across. So to finish off our last two questions, so what's next? Because I did see the thing about Space Cat.
Yes, the Space Cat is coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's due out in either late spring or summer.
Okay.
It's done.
Yay.
It's done, and it's beautiful, and it's so fun and light and just sweet, and it's about my cat, and I don't want to even like give too much away, but it's just fun and sweet, and it's a graphic novel, and Tana Ford, who's the illustrator, she rocked it. Oh my God, wow. The visuals are just beautiful. Her illustrations are just so the colors and the vibrancy and the energy of on the page, and just the story of this cat. And yeah, so I'm really excited about it. It's so cute. It's so cute.
We are very excited as well. It seems our customers are definitely more cat people.
Yes.
Which is great. See, whenever we have like, if there's dual books like How to Think Like a Cat, How to Think Like a Dog, it's always the cat ones that's so bad.
Really?
So yeah, just saying that the geeks out there that love the cats. What can I say?
Yes.
And for our last question, so what are you currently reading, watching, and if you game, what are you playing?
Don't have time to game.
Yeah.
I love, my master's thesis for my journalism degree was on female characters in video games.
Oh,
So
very
yeah,
cool. Okay.
you know, I've done the gaming thing at one point, but I don't have a lot of time. So no games. I just keep my back to it, because if I turn around, you know,
Oh, yeah.
they'll get me. Even just talking about it now, I can feel the pull. What am I reading now? It's really weird, and I don't. Nobody should make me explain myself, because it's a book that I got, okay, and it's called Literary Theory for Robots.
Wow.
I'm not explaining myself. I'm not. It's just about creativity. I'm not. Okay, just people look up the book.
Thing.
And yeah, I just saw it. It caught my interest, and that's what I'm reading. Kind of sounds on brand, I guess you could say, but yeah. Literary Theory for Robots.
And any TV shows or films you're watching or looking forward to?
Well, you know, I need to kind of figure out what I'm looking forward to. I did just watch the film Flow.
Okay.
Flow was beautiful. It was just beautiful once I watched it the first time, because first it stressed me out, and then after I got to the end, then I watched it again, and then I was like, oh, this is gorgeous and mystical. It's amazing. It's about a cat, and it's beautiful. So Flow. There's a movie called Robot Dreams.
Oh yes. Was that was there a series? Was there?
It's a book.
Yeah.
I do know it's a book. I'm not sure if it's a series. It might be I think it is a series.
Yeah.
I think it is a series. I didn't know it was a book. I saw it on the airplane. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, I had nothing to do. I'm like, Robot Dreams. This is gonna be ridiculous. But it's something about the way it was animated, like the way it was drawn, pleased my eye. So I'm like, okay, let me watch this. And oh my god! And both of these, Flow and Robot Dreams, are movies with no dialogue.
Oh wow! Okay.
No dialogue, which is brilliant. Like the way to tell it, such a poignant. Both of these are poignant stories with no dialogue. The skill of that is incredible. So like, just as a storyteller, I'm just fascinated by that idea. But yeah, Robot Dreams will have you crying. It has no dialogue. It's about a robot and a dog. It's really strange, wonderfully strange, and just wonderfully told. So yeah, in terms of TV series, I'm not watching anything new. I'm like rewatching The Wire right now. I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, here I go. I do need a new TV show. So yeah, I'm looking. Yeah. Maybe Mythic Quest. Maybe that.
Yeah, that does. Yeah. That does sound kind of cool. I totally get the gaming thing as well. I got a Switch for Christmas.
Oh boy!
Now you just got the PS5 in like one corner, and the Switch is just sat there in the other corner. You just say, well, maybe it feels rude not to like, pick it up at some point. But it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Completely sympathise. And talking quickly of your the thesis that you said you wrote about female characters in games. Who's your favourite female character?
Lara Croft.
Of course.
Yeah, Lara Croft. I've from the very first Tomb Raider. Yeah, it's Lara Croft.
Yeah, and there have been the trilogy's been re-released, hasn't it, for PS5? Just to,
yeah, of course. I'm like keeping my back to it.
If I don't look directly at it.
Yeah, then it won't notice me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For anyone at home, we'll have a ton of signed copies available to pre-order on our website, about to be signed. And you can head to any one of our stores or go online to grab a signed copy today. All right, speak to you soon. Bye.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.